Open Blender and select General Layout and save your document straight away. I forgot to do that on this job. Go to Front View number 1, numpad 1, and then go Scale on the X, SX, to roughly this proportion. Now we're going to go SZ, and that will bring the thickness down. And now we go to number pad 7, which is top orthographic, and scale on the Y, SY. You get it into roughly this proportion. It doesn't have to be exact. Now you can look at it by selecting 2 fingers and move, and we're going to go into edit mode, which we've done here, but you can go into edit mode using the tab key. Tab selects object or edit mode, keeps selecting the other when you hit tab. Now we want to use the face select tool, so we're going to click on the face select tool there. Just makes it a bit easier to view, I think. We're in edit mode. We're going to subdivide. So we've subdivided, and now this little menu pops up, and we're going to subdivide it 2 or 3 times. 3 times is good. So you can see the divisions now that are on the base there. So now we can go into the add modifier, and we can subdivision surface. That does a similar thing, but you can see where this first subdivide held the shape, and if we select 3 on the modifier, it will smooth the corners and edges off. Don't go more than 3. 4 or 5 can slow your computer down and sometimes stop it. Tab out to object mode, and you can have a look at your object and then apply the modifier. Now it's applied. You can see no difference, but when we go back into it in the edit mode, we tabbed into edit mode, you can see there's a lot more faces on the object. Zoom in and find a group of faces that you can delete. Just find a selection that you like, not too close to the edge though, it's only small. Now to see what you've selected, you can go into wire view, and sometimes when you do that zoom in, we're in top orthographic by the way, we select all the little dots on the faces. Now we've selected all the way through from the front to the back. We can now X and faces to delete. The letter X is the delete one. We go back to solid view and we can see the edges a bit more clearly. Now we've got to select a loop of edges around the hole. So we're going to need the edge select tool, and we select an edge and then Alt click and Shift Alt click for the bottom line. It might be a double click on the max and you select the line in the middle, and it should select around the hole. Now with the hole selected, and just to show you a bit more clearly, the wireframe view can show it pretty clearly, but we're back into the solid view and bridge edge loops. Now if you look down at the hole when you click, you'll see all of your edge loops should now have joined, put faces in there. And that's what you need to do to create a base. Very quick and easy. We can go back into, we can tab into object view, and we can look at the 3D print toolbox. Now N on the keyboard should bring it up. Check all, and you can see I've got overhanging faces, but that's no problem. I'll explain to you about that in class. All the other figures are 0, which is an excellent result. We now need to add text. We're in object view again, just make sure that you're in that. And then we're going to go GZ to move the text up out of the base a little bit. Now we go to the properties panel and look for geometry. There it is, and extrude. Just click it and watch your text. As you extrude, you can see it's given some thickness now. We move it out. We're getting number pad 7, which is top orthographic, and we'll just make it a little bit bigger by scale S, and then just make it bigger, and G to move it. Now we go to tab in edit mode, and we can change the text to whatever you want it to be. I'm just putting Brett in, nice and simple. I'm going to tab back out of that now, and I want to go and find a different font. So I need to find font. There it is, and click on the folder. Now the folder will give me access to the font types. I select the font type that I would like and just rotate it to have a bit of a look at it. Just 2-finger drag for the max, and middle key button for the others. I'm just going to scale it and grab it and rotate it until I can get it to fit onto the base nicely. And I'm doing all this in top orthographic view, which was number 7. If you do it in anything else, it will go a little bit askew. Now I want to move it down, so I'm going to go GZ. Next, lock the grab to the Z axis, and I'm just going to put the text into the base a little bit, about like that. If your text is too big, SZ and scale it so that it fits nicely there without being too big or too small. It's got to be into the base, otherwise it won't work properly. Okay, I'll have a look at our handiwork so far. Now we need to have a bit of a look at the text. We can't join them as they are now. They're two different types of mesh. So we go to Object. With the text selected, we convert it to mesh. Now, tab into Edit mode. We're going to go A to select all. Once we've got them all selected, we're going to go Mesh, and we're going to clean up. And the one we want to clean up is Merge by Distance. You can see I've lost 1,118 vertices, which is good. Sometimes that will be a much higher number. I tab back out to to Object mode, and I'm going to put a modifier onto the text, and it's going to be decimate. And what we're going to do is we're going to select planar, change the angle limit to 1 degrees, and we're going to click on all boundaries. Now watch your text when you do this. Just check your text, make sure it's all good, and when you click apply, watch your text still. And you can see now when I tab into edit mode that there's no lines on the faces now, but there are still very close lines on the vertical, on the edges. So we'll do it again, and we'll decimate again, and planar again, and we'll use number 8 degrees on this one. You can click all boundaries, but if it causes a problem with your font, untick it. It doesn't have to be done. Apply. Now when we go into edit mode, we tab into edit mode, you can see the vertical lines are much further apart, yet the text is still nicely made and nicely curved. So that will be easier for the printer to work with. We can go back to mesh and do some cleaning up. Make planar faces is a good one. Another cleanup is fill holes, and that should give us a reasonable piece of mesh. When you select these, quite often you get some readings down the bottom of the page. and you just keep doing it until you get a 0. So you'll see that here where I click distorted. That will make some addition. I click make manifold, and you keep doing this until you get all zeros on the bottom. Mine was okay, so we're going to union, select a boolean. We selected the base first. Now we select the text, so text comes up in the other box, and we're going to apply it because it's all in object mode still. We don't need to worry about that. It should work. Now the text we're going to switch off, so with the little eye in the outliner. We have a look at it. It all looks good. There's no dark shadow patches that indicate a problem. So it's looking quite neat. I like to rename my cube to my name or your nickname. That means it'll come out on the file name as well. Check all. I've got a few numbers changed there, but nothing dramatic. All of those are still very, very good. The printer software will fix those, but we can go and clean it up a little bit more. If we go to mesh again, and we've got to select A for select all, go to mesh, and then we can go through degenerate dissolve. That's one good thing to do. That'll clean up any loose vertices. Another good one is to I did degenerate dissolve twice. There must have been a few things showing there at the first time. So I go back to my mesh cleanup, and I will make planar faces. That makes the faces flat. Another one I can do is fill hole. So any problems, that should fix them up to well. And so now I'm going, 69 faces were triangulated. So I would click the triangulation again just to make sure there's 0. I do the make manifold, and they're all 0 now, which is good. But if they weren't, you would click it again until they were all 0. Now, when I went to transform volume, normally 100 works for our printers. That seems to be a good figure. I don't know why. Now, when I got to the stage of export, I remembered I hadn't saved my file, and sometimes the other versions of Blender, if you do that, you get an error come up, so you must save it before you export. So I just remembered then I hadn't saved, so I'll go back up and file, save, and that just opens up the Blender save window. Make sure you give it a name that you can recognize and a folder if you want to put it in a folder somewhere on your desktop or wherever you would like. Somewhere you can find it again. I put mine in a special folder, and just when you put the name in, try and make sure you've got your nickname in there. It takes me a minute to find where I want to put it. Then it will save as a blend file. It's there somewhere. Okay, in here somewhere. I've got a name worked out for it. I just type it in, and it'll automatically put the ending file name on there for you. Go save. Now I'm going to tab out so that I can, I have already exported, and here it puts the export file as an STL file next to your blend file in the folder. So you can see there, Brett STL on the end. So that's it. Tab out, there's your job, and this is happy printing.